And welcome back to Packers Playbook. I'm one of your hosts, Dusty Evely. With me, as always, John Kuhn. John, dude, we got another crazy game, a crazy ending, a little closer, a little more nail-biting than I kind of had anticipated, but some pretty big plays. We're going to look at three of them today, including the really big one, so we'll get to it at the end. But how are you? What were your overall thoughts on a hot day in Jacksonville?
Yeah, listen, it was warm, and that team was not as bad as their record. Yeah, sometimes you got bad teams with bad records, and sometimes you just have teams with bad records. This team had weapons all across the board, offensively and defensively. Unfortunately for them, their game planning and the way they call the game on defense is pretty predictable, which is why we went the route we did this week with the video. I did like an angle of Edgerrin Cooper, who was just named NFC Defensive Player of the Week, but Dusty said we had to do it, so here we go.
Here we go. Yes, I drive this whole thing. All decisions come through me. All right, so what we're gonna do, a little limited time this week. We're gonna hit. Actually, let's just watch the play first. Where this is what we're kind of building towards, right? Is this big leak play, 51 yards, Jayden Reed to set up what would end up being the game-winning field goal. Beautiful play call. I think we'll talk about some of the, kind of how they put this in, why they put this in. But I wanted to show that as kind of like a setup. That's what we're building to. So we're gonna start a full quarter earlier, minute 13 left, third quarter, 1st and 10. Packers and 11 personnel in this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in their playbook. This is deuce left. You've got tight end here, so you got strong side to the left. You got Jayden Reed in line there, and they're just going to run basic wide zone keeper here. You got this wide zone fake, roll to the right. Willis does this thing where he kind of pulls up instead of keep rolling. And then there's nothing really there. You're looking for that sail concept on the right side. I think he's told one read, maybe two read and go coming in during an injury. And he just kind of scrambles, picks up 20 yards. This is the first play. John, any thoughts on this one?
Well, I think as we start this whole thing, the evolution of a play, how does a play get created that was not in the game plan? And that's what we're eventually going to get to, is that last big play to Jayden Reed was not necessarily in the game plan, although it's a concept that I'm sure many of them have seen before, discussed before, and has been in game plans prior. But this is what happens when a Jordan Love exits a football game. You now have a Malik Willis who has a really nice set of skills, but a unique and different set of skills than Jordan Love. Jordan Love in the first half was limited, could not really move, and his range was not great. Malik Willis comes in the ball game. Immediately, Matt LaFleur goes to, hey, let's move the pocket. Let's start creating a situation where these pass rushers cannot just tee off on our offensive line because they were getting home a little bit in Jacksonville. So let's move the pocket. Let's get some people moving behind the line of scrimmage. Let's give a safety valve of a Jayden Reed on a check down if Malik Willis needs it. And let's let a guy who's really good at using his legs use his legs. And, we're going to see the run play that mirrors up to this here in a second. But go ahead and let this run and everybody can just see what I mean by moving the pocket.
Yeah, we got him. He just pulls up there. You got the fake run, boot, not there. Like you said, I think he does have Jayden Reed. I mean, I'm curious your thoughts on that, John. Reed's running that kind of slam route, right? Where he kind of is initially, we'll kind of get to him here. He's initially kind of looking like blocking down, then he's kind of working in the space behind that flat route there. There's a dude in the way, and we'll see it from the back angle there. Is this just a case of if the first or second read isn't there, take off? Because you see Reed here, and again, that's a trickier throw than it looks like on this angle here. But is this just it's not there, just run it? Do you think that's what they told him?
No, let's look at it from the back here. Clearly, your first option, Bo Melton, not there. Your second option, actually, Ben Sims might even be your first option on this. So you go Ben, you probably go to the over, and then you go to Jayden Reed here. None of them are very pretty. Jayden Reed pop. You popped that one right there. I like Jayden Reed's chances of potentially even going to the house because there's going to be one safety that's going to have an angle on him. He could potentially go to the house. This is what I've liked about what Malik Willis does, though. He knows he's got the legs and the ability to run the football. Why take a chance? See, everybody talks about passing on first down. What works when they're open, when it doesn't work when they're open and they drop the football. So here you go, 1st and 10. Don't even take a chance that the ball could potentially be dropped. I doubt that Jayden Reed would ever drop a pass. But Here you got Malik Willis who says, you know what? I can get all the way to Jayden Reed with my legs. Why even risk it? I'm going to take off. It's that type of conservative play style in not a conservative way, if that makes any sense, because you definitely don't want your quarterback running with the football much, especially your backup quarterback. But man, when he's doing it to make sure that he protects the football, doesn't put it at risk, that's what you like to see out of your backup quarterback, and that's what he does right here.
Yeah, that decision making there, and that was a little suspect early in his career. I think he's done really well with that in Green Bay. I feel like that's something the coaches probably harped on, and honestly, something I don't know if this is a good time to ask or not, John. I mean, we had the first couple starts he had right early in the season. You had those 2 starts. They had the week to get him ready. They get all that stuff prepped. They obviously drilled this stuff in before then. He got into town not long before. How much different is that for a guy who had been drilled? You get that game week prep now being forced into action again a couple weeks later now, but still keeping those same principles. How hard is that for a guy like that to do you think?
I think it's as hard as it is as the play caller in Matt LaFleur to still try and use the attributes you have in Malik Willis. They used him out of necessity games 2 and 3, right? They couldn't throw the kitchen sink at him. They couldn't throw the Matt LaFleur kitchen sink at him because it was just too much. He had only been there for about 3 weeks. But what they could do is use his attributes. And now that he has been in this system for 2 months, you want to use more of the kitchen sink. But man, those attributes that you exploited and used so well in games 2 and 3, you want to continue to use. So there's this balance, there's this fine line of being able to, hey, this is who I am and I'm comfortable doing this, and this is how I'm going to grow in this new system here in Green Bay. One last thing, because we did this last week or the week before with Christian Watson's big touchdown. Let's go back and see the wide copy one time, because I want to be able to show you exactly when the Packers knew that they had Jayden Reed's touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good point, John.
Pause it here.
Okay, running it. I got single high. All right,
and pause. All right, they got this picture on the sidelines. They're not allowed to have videos on the sideline for games, Dusty. They are in college, they are in high school, not in the NFL, but they have pictures. This picture was on the sideline. Circle that deep third on the field. Matt LaFleur knows he's going to have that if he gets the right personnel group on the field and if he gets the right alignment by the Jacksonville Jaguars. One last little thing of note, the safety. Take a look at where the safety lines up on this play, the down safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's down there to the tight end side. He's down there to Ben Sims' side. So just something to keep of note there as we move forward here in this stuff.
Excellent point, John, because that does come into play, like you said. So here, this is now later. This is fourth quarter, minute 48, fourth quarter. Same personnel, 11 personnel. You've got, again, this deuce left. You've got, I think that's Sims again. That might be Kraft. I think that's Kraft this time. On the left side, strong side there. That is Reed still in line there. But they've got now, that's the safety here, right? To your point, He is down over Reed. So he's now over weak side. They run, the run play that is called off of, right? And so what we just saw, the play action boot, this is the core run play off of there. John, what do you have on this? I don't know if we want to spend too much time on that, but just this sets up the next play, right?
This is the play. This is the touchdown play, but they don't can it. Why? Because the safety's down in the box. Do you remember last year, Dusty, divisional game at Dallas, big pass play to Luke Musgrave? This exact same play, but to a tight end, they ran. And they ran it directly after a run to Aaron Jones. Guess why? Because the safeties were rotated the opposite way. You need your defense to be set up the way that you want it. Matt LaFleur looked at the pictures that we just showed you of the boot, decided he was going to run this play. But you can't run a play against Jacksonville, who runs the same defense over and over and over. Some form of man free. They rotate down Darnell Savage. So now the guy who's going to be covering man on Jayden Reed is lined up right next to him. He's not going to get lost in the wash. He's easily going to be able to trail him around the field. Okay, leave the original run play on, because they might come down in this formation, leave the run play on, get 5 yards. Come to the line of scrimmage the very next play. Let's see what defense they line up in this time.
Yeah, very next play, to your point, in a beautiful moment of synergy. It's exactly 1 quarter after the first play we looked at. It's a minute 13 in the fourth. That was a minute 13 in the third. We don't get the full view here. They originally do a line in too high. You're now rotating down again. Deuce left, Kraft. You've got Jayden Reed in line weak side. Now they rotate down strong side. You've got the hands to the ears. You got the can. They know they got him now, right?
They know they got him. This is exactly after the run play, back to back, call the play, see if you can get this, because this is going to be your big shot to take one downfield for Malik Willis. As soon as that safety rotates down and you see can, you got to be getting excited if you're Matt LaFleur, because you know you got what you want. And hey, why is it important? Why is it important the safety's position? Because the safety and the linebacker are going to maybe potentially trade people off on this thing. If the safety was lined up on the other side, he's not going to trade off. He's going to share. He's going to run with Jayden Reed. And look at what Christian Watson's able to do here. Look at what Christian Watson is able to do once again, because the safety is to the side. If he was on the other side of the field, that's going to be called offensive pass interference. But because it's on this side of the field, it's not going to be called offensive pass interference. It's going to be called an unselfish play, a selfless play, a play that teammates make for one another because they're good teammates type of play. I just think it's amazing. Christian Watson goes out week in and week out, doesn't get the targets that the other guys get, but still blocks his tail off in the run game and makes very important detail-oriented plays like this to free up other guys to make the big plays. This team has a little something behind it. It's got a lot of detail in its ball game, and it's got a lot of fight for one another. You're starting to wonder just how far this thing could go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your point on Watson, we brought that up before with him. I mean, highly drafted. Obviously, the production has not been where kind of people had hoped. Certainly, where I had hoped after his rookie year, with what his physical traits kind of suggest. But to your point, you can't find a play where he's not out there working. Best blocker on the team among the wide receivers, does a ton of just selfless running off coverage stuff with his speed. He's able to do that, and again, making his body big. Like he does what it takes to win. And to your point here, where we pointed this out in the first image, we'll look at it here. You've got that there. This was the same image we saw. To your point, the pictures on the sideline. This time they run a guy into that zone, take advantage of it. Get the 51-yard play, I believe. It ends up being 51 yards. Nice ball by Willis, 51 yards. Packers kick the game-winning field goal, I believe, 4 plays later. We can look at it from this back angle here as well. But yeah, I like you pointing out Watson, because he has been doing that since he came into town, really. He's been a very solid player, even if the stats aren't necessarily there. He plays good winning football.
So many times you see teams lose a play that could potentially lose a game. And how do they do that? The details aren't sharp. And why would the details not be sharp? Because they're not the focal point. They don't care as much. They might just go through the motions, whatever reason. Human beings play this game of football. They are not robots, and they are not perfect. But Christian Watson shows, if you focus, if you lock in, if you pay attention to the details, the biggest plays can be made from the players not even being seen or talked about by the announcers.
Absolutely. John, before we get out of here, you got anything else on this? I know we want to talk about Adrian Cooper. We obviously didn't get there. Tremendous game from him. He continues to flash. But any other major takeaways from this game, from these plays, or just anything else you saw?
I mean, specifically, we lost our quarterback on offense, potentially a quarterback on defense, and Evan Williams, Jair Alexander, Josh Jacobs, both missed practice today. So a lot of injuries that the Packers are going to have to deal with going forward, with a huge matchup of the Detroit Lions. But it's things like this that we've now seen Matt LaFleur do 2 to 3 weeks now in a row, seeing what the defenses are playing you, going out there and creating big-time plays, big explosive plays that end up turning the tide in these football games. They're going to have to do that again against the Lions here this week, no matter who is starting at quarterback.
100%. I'm curious to see who comes out at under center and what LaFleur ends up doing. I think he's going to have something in his bag. Very excited to see it. John, thank you as always. This was great. We'll see you next week. And as always, go Pack, go.
Peace.